Hi guys, so I was recently talking about the danger of these ERG style groups that are formed within the Conservative Party. Now you're going to see an interview with the Right Honourable gentleman from the Shakespearean Acting Society, Sir Desmond Swayne. He's a member of the COVID recovery group. It's another ERG style group, and they focus on the pandemic. You have to remember that Sir Desmond Swayne has no qualifications when it comes, scientific qualifications relevant to this actual topic. But let's hear what he had to say. He was interviewed by Nodding Dog Dan Watton.
Let me bring in Sir Desmond Swayne now, the Conservative MP for New Forest West and, of course, a member of the COVID recovery group. So Desmond, great to have you here. Lots of threatening language coming out of our leaders and scientific advisors at the moment. We had Nicola Sturgeon yesterday plunging much of Scotland into lockdown and saying, you've got to be good children if you want to get any chance to have a family Christmas. Then today we have Dr. Susan Hopkins saying, young children, if you want to have Christmas with your family, we're then going to be plunged into lockdown throughout January. These threats have to stop, don't they?
No mention of Boris Johnson.
Yeah, are we a liberal Western democracy or some totalitarian state? I mean, I'm quite prepared to listen to anyone's advice about what will keep me and others safe. But it is for me and my family to decide what risks we're prepared to encounter.
No, because you have demonstrated that you don't understand the risks. You have denied that there are any risks. On numerous occasions, you have denied that there are any risks at all. You continually say, well, that this, very few people have died from this pandemic, so there's nothing to be worried about. I've talked before about how dangerous these people are because they form these groups in Parliament and they attempt to steer the government towards the way that they want to go. Desmond Swayne was elected, I don't know who the hell elects these people, but he was elected to represent his constituents. He wasn't elected to represent the UK or to form a group and influence government. I've said this before. These groups are acting almost like mini parties, but because of first past the post, they would never actually get any power. So they reside within the main parties like the Labour Party or the Conservative Party and try to steer the government in one particular direction.
And I would remind these people that the last administration that sought to interfere with the celebration of Christmas was Oliver Cromwell's. And he was left asking the question in public if arming 1 in 10 of the population would be enough to enforce it.
I completely disagree with his politics. I don't like him as an individual, but I love the way he speaks.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. And I mean, there's a lot of messages coming into me, Sir Desmond, right now saying it's going to take a hell of a lot of police officers to try and stop the country celebrating Christmas, which is why, by the way, we should be doing all of this, I think, with education and with enlightenment rather than with constant hectoring and threats.
We've tried that. And people like you have said, no, but there's nothing to worry about. You can't come around now and you can't turn around now and say, well, the government should have just advised people. Yeah, we did do that. The government did do that. Individuals did that. Commentators did that. And you people said, well, but there's nothing to worry about. Stop telling us what to do.
That approach actually would make more sense in terms of getting the country to comply with the rules anyway.
I think but what you're seeing here are two opportunists. On the right, you have Desmond Swayne, who until recently was pretty much unknown. He had there were a few clips of him on YouTube, in Parliament, pontificating about something. But now his power has increased. You see him interviewed a lot more on TV and on radio and on the internet. And I think Dan is someone who has decided, I have a niche, and it's the anti-lockdown niche. And I'm going to talk all about this. Now, I would actually be interested to know what they truly feel. Do they actually believe what they say? Or do they understand, well, I can use this particular platform, I can use this particular issue to promote myself, in a sense.
I agree entirely with you and with your correspondent. If we were being asked and encouraged to do things, people would actually be much more cooperative. It's clear that the current system of telling people what they must do isn't working.
No.
People resent it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And rightly too.
And
it makes my blood boil.
Yeah, no, I think people are becoming increasingly angry. And actually, it's very interesting just walking around London.
It's interesting because if you actually look at polling, the vast majority of people actually agree with these restrictions. What they're trying to do is they're trying to present a different narrative. They're trying to present the idea that, no, the vast majority of people are angry. The vast majority of people don't want to follow the rules. There is a small group of people who don't want to follow the rules, but they're very noisy. That's the problem. It's a bit like, we go back to the ERG scenario. The ERG did not represent a majority in Parliament, but they were very noisy, and they were able to present this idea that a false narrative that the majority of people in the UK were angry with the European Union, were tired of these ridiculous laws. They were forming the narrative, and they convinced a lot of people in Parliament, in the public, in public in general, to believe that they were telling the truth. And what they're trying to do the same thing here now. The vast majority of people support restrictions. They understand that there is a problem and we need to deal with it. These guys are trying to convince you it's the opposite, that it's a very small minority that truly believe that there is a problem, that truly believe it's necessary to impose these restrictions. Why? Because they want power. I think maybe Dan, because he wants some sort of bigger platform. He has, he probably says, look, someday I want to be on the BBC. When we reform the BBC, I want to be there. That's my goal. And Desmond Swayne, I don't think he wants to become Prime Minister, but he wants more power. He wants prestige. He wants power. He wants to be maybe a minister in the future. I don't think he wants to be Prime Minister. Maybe he does, but I think he wants a bigger platform. He wants more power. These people don't care about you. They don't care about the working class. They don't care about businesses. They see this as an opportunity for them to benefit themselves.
That's obviously where I am, but many people who phone the show say the same thing is happening in their town or their city. People are starting to resist now, Sir Desmond. They are out on the streets, and I don't mean troublemakers, by the way. I mean ordinary folk who have decided that it's not sensible, looking at all of the data, looking at all of the facts themselves, it's no longer sensible to be locked in their homes in perpetuity. Oh, I think we've seemed to lost Sir Desmond there. Hopefully we will get him back. In the meantime, let me read out some of your text messages. Oh, I think we've got you back, Sir Desmond. Is that right? Can you hear us? While we're just trying to get him, let's have a listen to Alok Sharma on Julia Hartley-Brewer. Okay, great. Let's just listen to Alok Sharma on Julia Hartley-Brewer's show this morning. This is what the business secretary had to say about Christmas, and I'll get you to respond off the back.
The reality is that none of us can predict right now what the infection rate, what the R rate will be in any part of the country as we get closer to Christmas. I hope, like everyone else, that we will have as normal a Christmas as we can get. It's not a normal year. I think we all accept that. I want to have my mum and dad around the Christmas table. I want to have members of my extended family, but we just have to see where we get to. So I think, frankly, it's too early to say where we will end up in a month and a bit from now.
So
See, a problem with easing the lockdown or easing the restrictions at Christmas is that for every day that we ease, every day that there will be a spike, it takes 5 extra days to recover from that. So we need 5 extra days of restrictions to bring the numbers back down again. Now, is that worth it? You can debate if it's worth it or not. I frankly don't think it's worth it. I think it makes more sense for us to work as a society together to say, look, this year Christmas is cancelled. I know it's going to annoy a lot of people, but what is the objective here? We need to get the numbers down. We need to save lives. We need to protect our healthcare systems. These people see it as, oh, look, you're ruining Christmas. Just let people have a break. You know, they're tired of these restrictions. The people who are telling you we're all tired of these restrictions are not actually suffering from any restrictions. You know, Dan is doing quite well for himself, I'm pretty sure. Desmond Swayne, you know, how has his life been turned upside down by all of this? Is he struggling? You know, when these people tell you we're all tired of this, we need just to get back to normal, they're doing it because they understand that there is an anger. Of course there's an anger. And they're trying to turn that into an opportunity for them.
Desmond Swayne, is that good enough saying it's too early? Because it's becoming, I think, really difficult for people's mental health to not be able to plan anything.
He's gone again.
I agree entirely. It's wherever we are in terms of infection rates when it comes to Christmas, it is for us to make the assessment and the decision of whether we invite Granny round. And
No, because we're not qualified to make that risk assessment. Because there are people who just don't care. People go, oh, to hell, it'd be okay. Let me give you, let me tell you what's happening here in Italy for a moment. In the south of Italy, some hospitals are close to complete collapse. I was reading an article about Switzerland where they have reached full capacity in ICU. In Switzerland, a rich country. This is not about poor countries. This is Switzerland, one of the richest countries in the world. They have reached ICU capacity. They have told elderly and sick people to write a will. Now, write a will because we don't know whether we'll be able to treat you or not. This is the situation we're in. Now, these people would say, oh, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing to be worried about. You know, it's all about liberty. It's all about freedom. Switzerland is asking its citizens to write wills at the last minute because there's a risk that they may not be able to get into an ICU bed. Here in Italy, especially in the south of Italy, the healthcare system is close to collapse completely. And we're not dealing with this correctly. And you have people on talk radio, you have people on the internet telling you that there's nothing to be concerned about. It's only just a power grab by the governments. That's why I'm saying that these people are dangerous. And the reason and the fact that they're forming groups in Parliament is even more dangerous. Because on their own, the damage they do is limited. Once they form these groups, they're able to wield much more power.
And it's for her to decide whether she's prepared to take that risk, not for some minister to tell us.
Yeah, totally. So what is the plan now? Because the COVID recovery group obviously has a strong block of MPs lobbying hard, lobbying the Prime Minister hard. He has to take you seriously because there's a lot of you. Do you have any idea what the plan is post December 2nd? Are there going to be this new series of regional tiers strength?
Once again, they don't ask, what would you do in this situation? What should we do? You're saying that we shouldn't do, we should, like, these two people were saying we shouldn't have had a lockdown in the first place. They don't say what you should have done instead. They say, no, we shouldn't do a lockdown. Okay, what should we do? Silence. In some cases, if you did push them, they would say, well, we shouldn't really do anything because it only harms older people. So we just lock them away. There, problem solved. No, it's not the problem solved. If your solution is just to lock old people away, then you don't have then you can't come on and complain about mental health issues. So don't complain about mental health issues if your response to this pandemic is to lock people away. And then even if you were to say, well, it's just the old people, we don't care about them, which is their, if you drill down, if you dig deep enough, that will be their response. Do they understand that the old people need treatment, need care? And this care is provided by younger people who have families, who interact in society. So what do we do with those people? Those doctors, those nurses, those carers? What do they do? Do we lock those away as well? Do you see how ridiculous all of this is?
Strengthened tiers, perhaps a tier 4, which is essentially lockdown in another name.
Yeah, well, that's the fear, is that we'll come out of lockdown and go to some other form of lockdown. And that appeared to be what was being done with the rolling of the pitch the day before yesterday for that. But nevertheless, there is a strong body of us now making this argument. And thankfully, many more clinicians and scientists making that argument. And I've always felt that has been Boris's instinct, that he's with us instinctively, although he has been captured by this scientific establishment. Oh
my God. So Boris is with them instinctively, but the problem is the scientists. It's like the ERG. The ERG saying all our problems come from the European Union. If we didn't have the European Union, we wouldn't have any problems.
Praise scientists who want to lock us all up. I mean, the reality is, if you ask a scientist, how do you stop a disease that spreads by human contact? Don't be surprised if they tell you, stop all human contact. But it's for us as politicians, and indeed,
it's stop human contact until have this under control. It's like, if a building is on fire, you need to pump water into the building until the fire is put out. What Desmond Swayne and Nodding Dog here would do would be just let it burn through, and then there'd be no building, and then the fire will stop itself. What's the point in saving the building? It's there's a fire in it. Let it just run through the entire building, and then the fire will stop. But we're going to destroy the entire building. Yes, but I'm okay. I'm living in another town.
Ordinary people to make the decision of whether that stopping human contact is worth the cost that it incurs.
So imagine if you had, we instead of actually deciding let's put out the fire, we left it up to individuals' decisions in the building itself, an apartment building or whatever. And we said, well, some people want to put out the fire, some people don't want to put out the fire. And those who want to put out the fire, like with water, shouldn't be allowed to pump water through, people's homes that don't want to put out the fire. Do you understand how ridiculous this is?
And that's our decision. That's ordinary people's decision, to make the decision for themselves.
It's not, because the decisions you take have an impact on others. If Desmond Swayne says, well, I don't care, like it's the same with the wearing of masks. Well, I don't care. I don't believe there's a problem, so I'm not going to wear a mask. That's my freedom. Yes, but if you are infected, if you're asymptomatic, you're spreading it to other people who have not a decision. There isn't a decision to get infected or not. It's ridiculous, this argument. Now, I'm going to end the video here because they just continue to ramble on. But these people are dangerous. These people are trying to undermine any effort to deal with this pandemic. What they do is they say, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. We need to stop what we're doing. But they don't actually provide any viable alternatives. They just keep saying it's not working. And they're undermining it. And they understand that there's a small group in society, a minority in society, and they're trying to tap into that anger and benefit from it either economically or politically. Now, people will complain to me about highlighting this, like giving Desmond Swayne a platform. But I'm not the one who's giving him the platform. It's talk radio. And I think it's important to call this crap out. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.